gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for September 2nd, 2022. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, the next Assassin's Creed isn't a Mirage, and Earth Defense Force 6 is the Elden Ring of Earth Defense Force games. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host to Game Mess Mornings. It's John from SpawnWave. John, how are you doing?
I'm great. You know, it's September started.
Yes, it's here.
I was ready for the summer to end. It's too hot out. I'm ready for it to get cold, which means in like a month and a half, I'll complain about the cold and I'm ready for it to get hot.
Yeah, of course. That's what it's got to be, right? The duality of man and all that stuff. What is like the average temperature for you throughout the summer where you're at? Like, what's it like usually?
Like mid to high 80s.
Yeah, that is a touch too hot for me. We moved from Colorado to Cleveland this summer, and Colorado gets to like 90, 95 all summer long. It's super hot. It's a desert, so yeah, that happens.
Well, I'm near the water, so it's 100% humidity all the time.
Exactly. It was a dry heat. So now I moved here near near the water, and it's like 80, 85, but the humidity. So it's like in Denver, I was hot every day, but I was taking a shower like every 2 days. It was fine. It was no problem. No, it was never sweating. Here, it's like, oh no, every day it is a swampy mess. But I still kind of almost prefer like the lower temperature overall. Humidity, it's a real pain in the ass.
Yeah. I'm just ready for September, ready to see some news popping up, some games getting revealed. I'm ready for things to pick up and summer to end.
It's that, I mean, it really feels like September is going to kick off with a ton of stuff, right? Like there's just going to be like every day a couple of new smaller announcement things get announced. Like say, hey, we're going to have another event like the NIS America said a few days ago. They're going to have something. I think another thing did get announced today. I don't even remember what it was, but like the calendar is filling up. It almost feels like E3 Part 2 right now for September.
Yeah. I'm ready for that to happen.
Absolutely. John, just real quick for people who might not know you, want to introduce yourselves. Just say, hey, SpawnWave, what you do over there.
Oh yeah. I attempt to run a YouTube channel. I do a podcast on the weekends. I do like news shows in the morning. And then I'll take apart technology and video game stuff on the weekends and just overall opinions on different things happening.
Absolutely. All right. Before we get into this mess, let me explain what we do over here. Each weekday, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news, the catch-up, where we discuss the biggest topics consuming the lives of gamers everywhere, and maybe even bring in some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. Hello, Twitch. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. If you're watching on there, hello, YouTube. Appreciate you showing up. Okay, let's get into this with the morning mess, starting with Assassin's Creed Mirage has been officially announced. The showcase is on September 10th at 9 p.m. We've kind of known that this was going to happen after leak after leak after leak. Finally, Ubisoft said, enough, we're just going to leak it ourselves from the Ubisoft store, and then that forced them to have to actually confirm it even before the September 10th event. Where are you at with Assassin's Creed? Are you excited about this one? I've got a little bit of excitement just because they're going to try to go back to that old version of Assassin's Creed where it's less RPG-y. Even though I like the new RPG ones, it's nice to maybe have some variety within this IP, I think. What do you think?
Excited for the fact that it sounds like it's not going to be the 100 some odd hour adventure that Valhalla is.
Exactly.
Because people would tell me that they spent 80 hours beating the game for the main story, and I'm like, that sounds bad. It sounds like work.
Exactly, right? It sounds like overwhelming to the point where I'm afraid to actually really start it. Like I started Valhalla and played 5 hours, and I'm like, okay, the world just keeps opening and opening and opening, and there's more possibilities already. And then you talk to other people, and they say, no, I'm like 30 hours in, and I'm still just like, they're still discovering new things all the time that are like more things to do constantly. And so like, then you hear like, okay, no, people were playing that for 80, 90 hours. It is overwhelming, and it makes me not even want to start it, really. So I think taking what was going to be DLC in this Mirage and making it standalone, I love that idea. I actually almost always enjoy like the standalone DLC things more than the base game because they're more concise and they feel more edited. Miles Morales is better than Spider-Man 2018. I think that's a great idea. More studios should embrace this.
I'm getting some like Assassin's Creed like Rogue vibes from this.
Yes, that too, though. And that's, I mean, Rogue is fine. Like it was like the watered down version of Black Flag, right?
Yeah. I
Cool.
liked Rogue. I thought it was
Yeah.
all right. Yeah. Black Flag I think is still a lot of people's favorite one. That one, and I liked Assassin's Creed 2 a lot.
Yeah.
Those are the two major ones.
I liked Brotherhood was the one that really, really hooked me, and then Black Flag, of course. I think everyone likes Black Flag. It's recently though, it wasn't Origins. Like the RPG ones are working. I get why they want to go in that direction for their big initiative with Infinity and say this is going to be the Assassin's Creed of the future. I hope that Mirage succeeds sort of on its own terms though, and offers them this sort of outlet for, okay, on the off year for Infinity, where this is going to be a platform, however they're going to handle that, whatever it looks like, even if it is a major success for them, which who knows if it's going to be. I hope that Mirage offers them a chance to say, well, we can occasionally put out an old style Assassin's Creed, which is weird, I guess, to call it old style now, but yeah, I mean, the series is kind of old now at this point.
Xbox 360 is a retro system, man. That's
exactly.
where it debuted.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like if they have a pathway to keep putting out these versions of Assassin's Creed every 2 to 3 years going forward, I think that would be nice. It'd like keep things varied, and it's a way to like not make that an Infinity feel like something you have to keep up with. If you are someone who does just want to like touch back in on the series every couple of years, hopefully they offer you a way to do that. Do you think there's any potential that that's what's going to happen here though?
I hope so, because Ubisoft just is in love with the live service stuff. And my issue with the live service stuff is eventually you're just going to run out of gamers' time. Like if you have 50 live service games, like you're not going to be able to spread your time between all of them anyway. So I like the idea of just making a game and selling it. It's a crazy concept now, I know, but like just selling the game and then you make another game. And like that's kind of what I would like to see them do with these small, I guess you could even say smaller budget Assassin's Creed games. And not every game has to be the AAA 80-hour game. You can do something like this, and if it's a good tight-knit experience, I like the full price thing. I know people still go back and forth on, but if it's an enjoyable 10 to 15 hour game, I'm good with that. Yeah, if it doesn't feel bloated and everything.
And what I really want here is I do want both. I think there's part of me that wants to find the game that can be my forever game, and I think publishers are realizing that they can actually execute on both. That was the thing that was happening over the last 10 years, where these companies were like, okay, we are going all in on live service games, so therefore we have to abandon the old way of doing things. And I think like EA has sort of had their come to Jesus moment in the last couple of years. We're like, oh wait, if we put out single player games that people like and enjoy and are, they don't even have to be game of the year contenders, but are solid, good single player games, people will buy those up to 10, 12 million copies, turn them into huge successes. And then also we can have Apex Legends over there doing its thing.
People still asking if loot boxes are going into Jedi Fallen Order. It's like that game's been out for so long. Like the next one's coming out. They still answer those questions.
Yep. Yeah, exactly right. And in their investor meetings, like they're still hearing that stuff. But it's like, no, EA understands it now that they can put out Jedi Fallen Order, make a sequel for it, and then invest in Dead Space. And that is like a whole other thing for them aside from what is happening with Apex Legends. And it's gonna hopefully this continues to work out for them. And I hope other publishers can see that and be like, we can do both. Ubisoft though, I don't know. They have their overall strategy of being like, we are going to have. I think they have this idea that they could possibly do both, but they're like mothership strategies, I think what they call it, where like we're going to have a big mothership game for each of our IP that is this big live service thing. I think if they struggle to get that going in something like an Assassin's Creed, they might just blow up the whole thing, and we'll see. I don't
just make Prince of Persia. Okay, just make that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I really want. Sands of Time. Absolutely. Earth Defense Force 6 has surpassed 300,000 copies sold. Kind of just... Earth Defense Force, a long-running series. I put this in here just because I'm like, it's like more successful than ever. Like this is its biggest launch ever. Having achieved this milestone within its first week of release, Earth Defense Force 6 is the fastest-selling entry in the series. According to Famitsu sales numbers, Earth Defense Force 6 sold 68,000 copies on PlayStation 4 and 24,000 copies on PlayStation 5. Those are the physical sales, and that was by August 28th, meaning at least 92,000 copies were sold at retailers. So. That's pretty good. Also, like people still showing up for franchises like this on PlayStation 4 in droves in Japan. So yeah, Earth Defense Force 6 is kind of having its like biggest moment yet. I like the Earth Defense Force games. I'm glad they just kind of like keep making the same shit over and over. I think it's the kind of thing where it's like it's winning over more fans, right?
Yeah, I played it on the 360. I really haven't played it much since then.
Yeah.
But if what you're saying is true and it's more of the same, that was a fun experience then. It released in Japan specifically, and eventually they do like these sporadic releases for it. I know worldwide, like they brought one to the Switch years after it had been on other platforms in Japan and everything. But you know what's really interesting about this is it also, because of how fast they wanted to run and tell everyone the sales, it gives us a bit of an idea of the digital physical split in Japan as well for some of these games. As it 300,000 copies sold, but we only have just under 100,000 that was recorded physically. So you kind of see that there's 200,000 or so that sold digitally. So it shows how much we've shifted towards digital.
Yeah, and I remember tracking that early on in the days of PS4 and Xbox One, where it's like, okay, the number is like 25% physical, 75% digital. And then very quickly in that generation, it went, oh no, it's like 50-50. And then since then, it's just been like, okay, every percentage point after that was just the slow climb. And then over the pandemic, it was like, oh no, now we're up to 70-30. It's like 66%, like 2/3 is digital sales. And, that varies obviously by game and the audience and by platform. But overall, it's a pretty good rule of thumb now. 2/3 of your sales are going to be digital. And I know you're someone who constantly says this will be the last generation of physical, not because it's what you want. You just think that's what the platform holders want. You think this is another example of us being well on the way toward that future?
Yeah, I mean, PlayStation already told us they had like 80% digital last quarter. I kind of see that as the trend. And then you get to a position where the logistics behind it for shipping and packaging just stops making sense. And you just go, we're all digital. That's just the way it is. I mean, these publishers want that too. They'd rather pay 30% than, I think it's like 45% or something otherwise. So in their mind, 15% is big. Let's just do that. You don't have to worry about getting these discs out there. And then what's the split? How many PS5 do we have to ship? How many Xbox Series? Or even if you do across 4, you still have to figure that out. And the retailers have to figure. It's a whole thing. So in their mind, we make them go live digitally, and people will decide which ones they want it on. We don't have to worry about shipping this copy or that copy. So there's just such a push from basically everyone who's in charge of making the games to go digital. I think next generation, 2027 or something, we'll probably just see an all digital Xbox and an all digital PlayStation to launch that new generation.
Yeah, I think that it's the kind of thing you can hear that and say, oh, but I always buy physical. I'm someone who they don't want to lose my sales. I'll be pretty frustrated if that happens. The pressures on the other side of that John just listed, it's not just like, oh, it costs more. Like, it's overhead. It's like long-term costs. You have to hire someone who's in charge of making all of those transactions so you could ship something across the world happen, and someone to analyze the market so they can guess how many copies you should be printing and stuff like that.
I used to have to pick between from multiple stores how many of each copy and percentages for, and you'd always be wrong. So that's why you have a bargain bin. Exactly.
Yeah. It just creates waste. It creates inefficiencies, and every little inefficiency you can eliminate as a company, it's more money in your pocket. Those pressures build up over time. And also, it's just such a volatile market. You could say, one day things can be this cost, and then 3 months later, if there's a ship that gets stuck in a harbor somewhere, the prices are going to shoot up. I mean, right now, maybe people are like, oh, well, physical's not going to go away because shipping container costs have plummeted down or whatever because everyone's worried about a recession. Who knows? A year from now, they could bump back up. The point is that they've seen those costs go as high as $25,000 to ship things across the country. So they are very much in want of eliminating all of those costs wherever possible. So, yeah. The Callisto Protocol Studio says Game Pass is difficult as a financial model for its game. I'm going to pick up this from an interview where he said, I think this article actually says, while we were at the show, we asked the studio's CTO, Mark James, about the possibility of seeing a title like the Callisto Protocol joining Microsoft's Game Pass service. While the team says they think about it, they suggest that ultimately the service isn't the right place for a single-player game from an independent studio to thrive. And this quote comes from that CTO. Microsoft has their own single-player games within the service, and I still think you're going to see the platform holder studios provide single-player games in them. I'm just saying that as a financial model, it's a difficult one to make work as an independent studio, James said. I think you're going to see single player games, but it will probably come from the hardware companies. And I think he's definitely talking about at launch, right? Day one, that's where it doesn't make sense. I think down the line, putting any game into Game Pass, single player, no matter what it is, after it's had its initial sales window, that might make sense. But on day one, like to combat against potential like actual physical sales and digital sales that people are actually purchasing, that's the model that I think a lot of companies are still struggling to justify in their head when they have these conversations with Microsoft, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it this way, it's a third party talking. It's not their job to sell consoles or Game Pass subscriptions. So in their mind, it's like, is this check that Microsoft would potentially give us bigger than the day one sales that we could get? I'm sure they've drawn it out. They have people in charge of figuring out, all right, what's the revenue we expect to bring in? Okay, that eclipses the check Microsoft gives us right now. Let's roll the dice on this. But also, if you don't have any kind of post-purchase spend in your game or something set up for that, I don't really know why, if you're Callisto Protocol, that very well could be the length of like a Resident Evil Village, so like less than 10 hours long, like why you'd put it into Game Pass if you feel like you could get $70 or something up front. And then there's always the potential, as you said, we can just get a check from Microsoft later, maybe for a little less. But if you add that up with the money we'll probably get here, then it makes more sense to kind of go that route. I mean, for all they know, they could put this thing out and it explodes, and they end up selling 10 million copies like lifetime, and that was the right decision. But I guess they could also go the other way. But there's a lot of hype for Callisto Protocol, so they're in their mind, see what happens, and they'll go that route.
Exactly, and I think we've seen other studios talk about how we've done Game Pass in year 2, and that has led to huge success for us. We got bonuses for performance and stuff like that. I can't remember the game we talked about earlier this week, Chad. So if you help me remember, maybe. But it was like, hey, the first year was great. The second year's been really great as well. We continue to grow and stuff like that, and a lot of that is due to Game Pass. So it's like, yes, you're definitely going to get a slightly smaller check from Microsoft up front if you don't take that day one stuff instead of taking if your option is to go, a year from now, maybe we'll do that. But you're right, the risk reward of potentially hitting it big with a game like Callisto Protocol, which seems primed to hit it big. Yeah, obviously that's a roll of the dice you're going to have to take most of the times when those companies.
If you think about the games that are going to like third party ones, MLB The Show, that has a lot of post-purchase spend. I mean, that thing is microtransaction all over the place. Outriders is a live service game that, again, seems like something that makes sense for it. Whereas Callisto Protocol, let's be real, it's going to be this narrative-driven experience. You go through and then you decide if you want to play it again or if there's any replay value to it further. You're not necessarily like, oh, I'm going to buy that skin for my character now. So it's we'll see. I think in their mind, though, they're an independent studio that doesn't have massive backing anyway to roll the dice on a check that might not cover everything. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, exactly. This is like a potential big breakout hit for them. But you're right. I think I wonder if that comes from Microsoft's side as well. Like when they go out to make these deals, if it's like, yeah, we would love to make a deal with someone like a Callisto Protocol, but we see more engagement from games that have these ongoing multiplayer live service components. And so they're actually not just like, they don't fit better, they make more sense for us and they're worth more to us. So I wonder if that is actually how they're approaching it, or if Microsoft's like, no, we want variety. We would pay you about as much as we would pay anyone else. But for a single player game, it's like, we don't have that money coming on the back end. So like that's actually that number, which makes sense for a live service game that then gets huge exposure to this huge engagement, like, trough that is Game Pass. That makes sense for them. It's not going to work for us. So,
yeah.
Gizmo from Gremlins is coming to Multiverses. This is something they've teased. They're teasing a lot of characters from Multiverses. So I'm gonna bring this take a quick look at this like teaser here. But they've talked about I think another character from Gremlins coming. I think Stripe, like an actual gremlin. This is going to be Gizmo, who's a Mogwai. He never actually turns into a gremlin. But like, hey, he's going to be in there soon. They've got like 3 or 4 characters primed to come to the game and that have not come out yet. So it's like they are making a lot of promises for content, which I suppose makes sense. They are probably riding high off the success of this game. And they're like, hey, anything we could do to keep that going, we're going to do, right?
20 million players, right? Is last recorded amount that they gave us. I love these reveals and the ideas around this though. Like, who would have thought you'd have a game where you have LeBron James, Superman, Bugs Bunny, and Gizmo fighting each other? And that, hey, I say keep getting weird with it. Obviously, they have a lot of partnerships and deals they're making and intellectual properties they're going to leverage. But why not make it as weird and outlandish as possible to just get more attention to the game? Because that's what worked for Fortnite. Fortnite, you can swing around, you can jump on a Nimbus cloud, you can Kamea wave people, do the ninja run
John
from
Cena.
Naruto, and you could do all this crazy stuff, and it's hilarious, but it sets it apart from everything around it. So do the Fortnite approach. Just get all these weird things going on here, and that actually kind of makes the reveals exciting anyway, because you legitimately don't know what's going to happen next, and it is. Yeah, a live service game, but the idea is keep people engaged, and having character reveals consistently and new content that's how it works. That's how you do it. So I like what they're doing here with it. I had downloaded it and I was gonna play it, and it did that thing where you turn it on and it's like, all right, go here and sign up. And I'm like, I'll do it later, and I just never did. So
I think if you set your age to like 10, they don't make you sign up. So that's
Really?
the key. Yes, exactly. Like, oh, we can't take your data. Never mind. This is the game that figured it out, right? They figured out the way to capture some of the magic and momentum that Super Smash Brothers has with its character announcements, and people speculated on that for years at a time, and joining camps of other people who are like, "This is the character we want you to put in the game next." Like, underneath every one of these tweets now, there's people like that, say, we want this character, we want Mordecai and Rigby from the regular show in the game, and there's accounts made up like, put Mordecai and Rigby in Multiverses, the Twitter account. And the fact that that stuff is already built up for this game in a way that we haven't seen with any other sort of Smash Brothers clone, they've made it work. The magic is kicking off for them. I wonder if they will go as weird as they possibly can. Like, they do own the Friends characters. Do they put Ross from Friends in there or something? Walter White.
Why not?
One is a good meme. Exactly. At a certain point, they should be saying why not to all that. Yes, and it would totally work. And it's not like, oh, this audience is a young audience. No, you're putting Gizmo from Gremlins, a 40-year-old movie at this point, into this game. So clearly you are hitting all of the demographics here. Why not put in characters from adult-facing shows like Walter White? Like, it makes a lot of sense. And you're right. The weirder you can get like Fortnite, the more possibilities it is for this social engine of just throwing things.
You could do Walter White. I feel like you could do it because he wouldn't need to be standing there with meth or anything. He had in some of the episodes, one he actually made just a crystallized explosive essentially through at the ground. He could do something like that as his finisher. Yeah, there's all kinds of fun stuff they could do with Walter White without him having to have a gun and a meth lab behind him.
Exactly. Yes. And I mean, I think it would be interesting to see how they would pull that stuff off. And they could make allusions to some of the the grittier, seedier stuff that comes from the source material. They don't have to explicitly do it, and that could be fun for adult audiences too, where it's a Pixar movie where oh, these jokes are going over the kids' heads, but they're getting to the adults or whatever. And
I love the idea of the Friends character going in there. That would be so funny. That actually might get mainstream attention.
I think that it's got to be an ace card that they're holding on to. When this game needs a boost of attention, we just have the Friends event. I wonder how much of likeness rights would be a problem for them. Hopefully it's not, though. I would love to just
write the check.
Yes, Ross is the most powerful character Multiverses has ever seen. It's just the dumbest sentence I could possibly think of. All right, I put this next one in here for our good friend Janet Choa. Pokemon Go Psychic Spectacular is a new event that's kicking off Tuesday, September 6th, running through Monday, September 12th, as a new mega Alakazam. I'm going to say these words. I don't know what most of them mean, so I'm just going to say them. New mega Alakazam, evolving Kadabra, or catching Alakazam, will learn Psychic. Wild spawns feature Psychic Pokemon. T5 raids feature Deoxys. T1 includes unknowns E, P, and S. 7 kilometer eggs will feature Smoochum, Wynaut, and Chingling, which sounds racist, so I'm just not going to say that word again. Field research includes Baltoy, Chimichio, Elgium, and Hypno, and timed research rewards for Elgium.
We confirm those are actual Pokemon, by the way, because they could have just been
they're
feeding
just
you any
fucking with
kind
me,
of
right? Exactly. That's what it feels like. Jan in chat says, "Oh my god!" So He's back in. He's played a lot of Pokemon Go, and I wonder, like, these raid events do seem like the kind of thing that get the people who have been playing Pokemon Go all this time to like check back in on the game. For me, I'm like, I played Pokemon Go in 2016. I haven't checked back in. Do you think they could do anything to get you back into it?
It would get me back into it. I mean, the only thing that would, I guess, really do it is if there was heavy integration in the new Pokemon game.
Right.
So I'm like, well, I guess I have to download this now to check it out again. I mean, I've had Pokemon Go on my phone for a long time, like, because when you get a new phone and you set it up to sync, it'll just re-download all your apps.
Right. Yes.
I've had it since then, and actually, it's funny. Is like a month ago, I checked back in, and it is completely different now from what I remember. Like, you got raids, you got got battles, and all the stuff we were asking for back then did eventually find its way into the game. But I mean, I don't even know if half these Pokemon are real, like I said in this list. So, I mean, 151, that's still the best lineup of Pokemon ever made. Now they got Pokemon that look like furniture. So
bags of trash, which actually is a good thing, but yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
I have had a bit of a resurgence in Pokemon recently, though. I liked Arceus. I was fine with Sword and Shield. I actually went through Brilliant Diamond and enjoyed it. That might have been more nostalgia than anything else. And now I'm looking forward to Violet. So maybe when we're getting closer to it and they mention anything where Pokemon Go has some sort of integration with one of these newer ones, then I would download it and at least throw some Pokeballs around to complete whatever task they have set up. But hey, it's good to see it's still rolling.
Yeah, I mean, and Pokemon's definitely rolling. I think last year they said they sold more like copies of Pokemon games than they've ever have before. A big part of that is they had like more games offered up than ever before. And now this year, they're going to have Legends Arceus in the beginning of the year, and then they're going to end it with the new generation of Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet. It's massive. It's bigger than ever. And it's the one franchise that it does it by not trying to keep up with its audience. A game that we're like continuously talking about over here that we're like, what is going on over there? Why does it look so grimdark? Why is it trying to grow up with its audience? Is that Hogwarts game where that last trailer at a recent event, I think it was Jeff Keighley's thing, opening night live. It just looked so, I don't know, off-putting to me. And I'm like, I'm definitely not going to show this to my kids where it's like, hey, are you going to torture your friend on this quest? I'm like, and Pokemon, it goes the exact opposite route of, no, we are just going to continue being what Pokemon always was. And we're going to hook the next generation of kids. And turns out also a lot of adults just want to keep going back to it because it reminds them of, the fun they had.
A lot of backlash to that too, though. It's a mixed bag. A lot of petitions go up.
Oh, they definitely do, from people who are spending a lot of money on Pokemon stuff, though.
Yeah,
so,
I was going to say, yeah. So they're like, all right, fine, write your petition.
I am going to be playing Scarlet and Violet after having a lot of fun with
which one are you going with?
Arceus. I'm a shitty like iconoclast or whatever it is. A contrarian. I always go with the one that is the least popular. So everyone was talking about getting Violet, I think. So I think I'll get Scarlet. 'Cause I want the one with the dumb-looking motorbike that runs, I think. So it's like that. It makes me mad, and I want to be mad when I'm playing my Pokemon games, so I can feel something.
The default.
Yes, exactly. Mario Kart Tour will no longer be gacha starting in October. Let's see. Here's a peek. This comes from the Mario Kart Tour Twitter account. Here's a peek at Mario Kart Tour's update coming late September. Battle mode will be added, along with a spotlight shop where you can exchange rubies for drivers, carts, and gliders. Also, pipes you can fire by using rupees will be removed. See the notification for details, blah, blah, blah. It's basically what's happening here is it seems like regulation is coming for Mario Kart Tour, like it's coming for anything with loot boxes. And to avoid that, they're just going to take it out and they're going to put an item shop in instead. For me, the time for Mario Kart Tour has passed. I am not going to ever probably play that game again. But it continues to make money. People are going to keep playing it. I wonder if they will be happy with this transition because it's like, oh, no longer do I have to rely on luck to get all of the items I want. If I want something, I can just go in a store and buy it. That seems better, right?
Seems much better. The biggest thing that makes money are those gacha systems where you have to just keep spinning a roulette or spinning a wheel until you finally get it, essentially rolling the dice, the RNG and all of this, because sometimes RNG is not on your side. And I mean, I've seen streams for popular games like on cell phones where they'll spend thousands of dollars to get one character or card or whatever it is. Whereas if they could just go into the shop and buy it for, I'm not even kidding, like $100, they would have just done that. They'd be like, yeah, fine, I'll just buy it for $100, which sounds crazy to us because we're talking about things like $60 and $70 games. They're just like, I want this skin. It's $80. I don't care. But
I've started playing Fortnite recently. We've done a lot of it at the site recently, and it's very, very quickly do you get into the mindset of I want this skin. So yeah, I'm gonna pay the money to get the virtual currency, and all of a sudden I've spent like $50 on this game, like over the last couple of months or whatever, last couple of weeks. It's like, man, how did that happen so fast? Like the money just drains out, and you're like, a skin is anywhere from $10 to $20 when you do the conversion. It's like, man, that's expensive. And you see everyone has like every match, like you see a couple of new skins you haven't seen before if you haven't been playing this whole time. It's like, okay, they obviously this is how they're making, $4 billion a year or whatever it is. And Mario Kart Tour is not going to be in a situation where it's making that much money. But and really, honestly, you're right. The gacha system might have made more because it got people into this like gambling loop, which is what the whole point of the system is to like get people ensnared in this minefield where they just can't pull themselves away from playing it. But still, if like you have enough content in there and the game is fun, people will show up for your stuff and will spend money on it. And hopefully that's a better system in the long run.
What usually happens in other games, though, is, for example, Belgium, let's say there was a whole thing with that in loot boxes and so on. They just introduce a regionalized version of the game and they remove it. They still keep loot boxes and these hidden RNG systems across the rest of the world where it's allowed. So looking at this at Nintendo, and they were just, now we're taking it out. We don't want to deal with it. It still makes me wonder if Nintendo retreating a bit on the phone stuff.
I think overall, I agree with the idea that Nintendo's retreating from phone stuff. I just think that they don't have their heart into it. They are not going to completely abandon it, but it's going to be a long time before we see them do something like another Dragalia Lost, right? They just pulled off their ending support for Dragalia Lost. Are they ever going to do another original mobile IP? If they do, not anytime soon. They are like mostly pulling back from this space and just like, hey, we'll have Mario Kart, we'll have Fire Emblem, we'll do a few of these other ones, we'll have Animal Crossing, whatever. But we're just going to keep supporting those and have those teams sort of running on autopilot going forward, where they just do their events and occasionally they have some new stuff. But I wouldn't expect a major investment into mobile from Nintendo anytime again soon. Although, they are not the only ones like pulling back away from loot boxes. Overwatch 2 is getting rid of loot boxes from Overwatch 1. And that just actually, I think that just ended, where you can no longer buy loot boxes in Overwatch. I think you could still like earn them, but like you can't buy them right now. So
right.
It's like, okay, everyone's sort of just pulling away from that. It's the old way of doing things.
But the thing with the phone stuff is it is completely accepted in that space to have this. That's why it's weird. Like Nintendo could have been like, I'll take it out in these regions. That's it. And people would have been like, all right, this is very odd. I will say that in this space, especially after their experience with Mario Run that did not do as well as they were hoping for them to. I mean, who knows? Maybe it wasn't making them the kind of money, and they risk reward, and they're like, throw an item shop up. We're not going to deal with the government on this.
Yeah, if this was making them like $1 billion a year, like some mobile phone games can do, they probably would not have done this across the board. It was probably at a certain point, it's just like, this will ensure we don't run into any future regulation right now. We're going to make the change anyhow. Let's just make it across the board. It kind of feels like that sort of lazy take on it because they don't want to invest in mobile.
The other time this happens is when we're getting close to end of life for a game on mobile and they just start to unlock everything. And sometimes they'll even let you download an app that just gives you your collection even when it's offline so you can look at it. Yeah. I don't think Mario Kart Tour is done anytime soon because apparently there's been data mining going on and they have enough content for the next couple of years. So
yes.
That's interesting.
Again, and then so it feels like a kind of game that can just run on autopilot. So why not just keep it going and supporting it? But yeah, they accept it on mobile, especially in Japan, where Nintendo's games are, obviously very successful. Gachapon, that's where it is like it's home and it's bread and butter there in the mobile market. All right, CD Projekt to reveal what's next for Cyberpunk 2077 in an upcoming live stream. This is the event I was mentioning earlier, like another event getting announced for September. They've done sort of updates in the past. They say this one's going to be a special episode of its Night City Wire live stream that will take place on Tuesday. It should also include new information on Netflix's upcoming Cyberpunk Edgerunner anime series. But yeah, what's next for Cyberpunk 2077? At a certain point, I'm like, I am always going to kind of consider this game to be not quite everything it could have been, and to mostly be an okay game that had a lot of issues at launch, but it's fine. And I'm glad a lot of people have sort of like reassessed it and gone back and found like, oh yeah, it is okay, and I actually really like it. But I wonder if they're ever going to really be able to turn it into The Witcher 3 or what Witcher 3 became after several updates. This one feels like it's probably never going to quite reach that level.
It's better now than when it
Oh, yes.
first launched, obviously, but that hurt it so bad. Like to the point now where they announced this and I don't even see it being talked about that much online. People are just like, it's, I guess. And back when it was launching, this was a massive deal online. Like the internet would shut down. People were like, we're gonna see Cyberpunk again. So I don't know if they'll ever get back to that level when they first launched it, but the game itself is still, like, now especially, it's a good game. It's just not a revolutionary game that I think they were going for or hyping up, what I'll say. So I'm curious. They're gonna do some content for it, and they've already talked about how they have expansions coming up, but those have been delayed and pushed around so they could fix the game. So I don't know if the moment's passed for this game total, because I've seen things like No Man's Sky recover, but it's still going to be a little while, I think, for that one.
Yeah, I think that they will get to a point where making a Cyberpunk sequel probably like makes sense, and people will be excited for it, and it'll be like this groundswell of like letting the community sort of promote it, instead of what happened with Cyberpunk, which was, we are going to present you the most far-fetched concept of what this game could be in this back room at E3, and hopefully we get there with the game, and hopefully we deliver on all this stuff. And they weren't saying that part to us. That part they kept quiet. They did suggest like this is what the game was going to be, and none of that stuff was in the game. Now, fair enough, judging the game on its merits for when it did come out and what it is now today after some updates and improvements, it is still a game that I think it's very easy to enjoy, and it does have this this look and this world that is very enticing and cool to spend time in. But for me, it's like it was never just, I don't know. It still feels like this kind of sterile game where you don't actually have as much choice as you think, unless you're talking about combat. In combat, it is a very good RPG system and stuff like that. But yeah, and that, but to me, that sets the table for more updates, improving it over time, and then getting to a point where, and now we're doing the sequel, and we are going to deliver on all that stuff we originally said. Maybe they can get people back there, where when this game launched, it kind of felt like, oh, they missed their chance, and there will never be more Cyberpunk, and they should just give up now. I no longer feel that way, and I think they're probably feeling much better about the game now than they ever have before, right?
Yeah, I think so. They'll probably continue to add to it, learn from it, and then I would like to think they would try a sequel, but even then, do you think they would still just use Cyberpunk's name? Would it just be like Cyberpunk 2 or Cyberpunk 3043 or some weird number? Or would they just say, we're going to do a spiritual successor to Cyberpunk? It'll be named something slightly different, but there'll still be talks of like the city and everything in it. And it'll just take place in a different part of the world, or...
Yeah, I wonder if it's maybe it is still using like the IP, but maybe like the name itself could be different. But I would imagine that if they aren't going to make this much effort to rehab the license at this point, they're part of the license anyhow, that they would probably just end up sticking with the name and doing a direct sequel and all that stuff. All right, final news story here before we get to the catch up. The Quarry director says his next game will be just as big and could deviate from teen horror. This comes from Andy Robinson at VGC. The director of Until Dawn and The Quarry has revealed he's working on another full-scale horror title, which is tentatively planned for release by 2026. That game did really well. It was like The Quarry was a big success for them. It came out at a time when not a lot of other stuff was happening. It's a game that was did very well on some places like Twitch, and so people were picking it up because of word of mouth. I think, and then the studio, didn't they get acquired? I'm trying to remember. Until Dawn, they got or not Until Dawn, but what's the name of the studio? They didn't someone just pick them up? I can't remember exactly, but like now they have financial backing to like just keep doing what they've been doing, and by 2026 we will probably get more. It's Supermassive. Thank you, chat.
Supermassive Games.
Yes, there we go. Is this your genre? Do you play any of these games? I've never been super. I haven't been super compelled to play them. Whenever I do find myself playing them, though, I always have a good time.
I liked Until Dawn. I saw The Quarry came out, but at the time I didn't pick it up. I figured I would go back and play it eventually when maybe it fell in price or just is a little quieter in gaming, which it actually has been. So probably would have been an all right time to go back. But I'm curious if they're going to get away from teen horror, which is what they've been building on basically. So all I can assume based on all these presentations I'm seeing from like Jeff Keighley and it's going to be in space. You know, it's gonna be like
Yes.
it's gonna be like, I don't know, they get away from teen horror, just be a regular space horror game. Now I'd like to see them do something different and interesting. I mean, if they at this point they could get away from teen horror and even like the time period, they could like go back in time, they go way forward in time. I wouldn't mind seeing them go like way back in time and maybe tackle like a mythical creature or something and
Yeah.
go that route.
Or like
But
even like a period piece in like medieval times or something like that, and where you're just playing as peasants and stuff like that. And it's actually kind of still basically a teen horror game, but not like a modern one that's like punish the youth of a different era is what they should do instead of just punishing modern day youth.
yeah, because Until Dawn seemed to really be really big for them, and then Quarry's even bigger. So, I mean, that's what a lot of people are going to know them for. So, I wouldn't mind seeing them try something different just to shake it up a bit in that sense.
Absolutely. All right, let's get to the catch up. Let's just talk about a few things I wanted to bring in here. That Marvel vs. Capcom 2 1-up arcade cabinet is now up for pre-order. It's $600. I know your good friend RGT gets all of these systems. Do you have any sort of desire to have a home arcade for yourself or anything like that?
Not like him. He has like the entire basement covered in this stuff.
Yeah.
He has like skee ball and like basketball and like all these arcade machines. This one looks interesting though. I'm actually all right with the price at 600 for
Yeah.
what they're putting in there and the licensing and all the hurdles just to get MVC2 into an arcade cabinet like this. It's less than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be closer to 800.
I mean, their pricing was like eking up a little bit, and it's like I'm glad that they found a way to like stop at like 600 for something like this. Obviously people, someone in chat's like, oh, just build a nice main cabinet for that price, and that's always an option, of course. For me though, like $600, yeah, maybe a little bit too expensive for what I would do if it was ever on sale. And the fact that it has, the great art already on it, and it does have a bunch of games, but has the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 that I could just almost put on attract mode and use it as like a decoration in the basement or whatever. I'm like, yeah, that's definitely something I would consider if it like got down a little bit lower in price. But like if this is like your game, I think $600 for something like this is pretty fair. I did pick up the Simpsons one when it went on sale at Best Buy, and I've been really happy with it. And it's like and mostly I've been happy with it as this thing playing the Simpsons logo out of an arcade machine, on repeat sometimes when I just turn it on just for that. And I have played it, but also just having it sit around, it's been great. So
Some people just don't want to build that stuff. It's just,
course.
they just want to spend the money and save their time and get it, and that's it. It's like same thing with consoles and PC. Build a PC. I just want the console. That's okay.
Absolutely. Xbox Game Pass Friends and Family has launched officially in Ireland and Colombia. So now if you are in those spaces, you can begin testing that stuff out for yourself. I expect this test to go well and for this to go worldwide here pretty soon. It's the kind of thing that people hear it and they say, well, that's such a great deal. Like, I could pay $15 and just be for myself, or I could go to $25 and get all my friends and family on. And, maybe someone will give me some money. And in reality, very few people are actually going to remember to give you the money they owe you each month or whatever for Game Pass. But you're the person who is most insistent about this. So if you're the person that would give a company like Microsoft $15 for just yourself, you're also pretty likely to give $25 to make sure, you can keep playing all these games with your friends and your cousins that you always try to get to play with you all the time. So Microsoft is aiming like the gun or the money vacuum at the right person, the person who's most likely to spend more money, and they're going to get more money out of you while you are sort of doing the word of mouth advertising for them. So it's like this perfect sort of marketing scheme that should work out well for them. What do you think?
No, I think it makes a lot of sense. If you upgrade $10 more a month, you're also then going to help them market Game Pass to other people.
Yes,
like you might buy that and be like, oh great, now my kids can use Game Pass with the Xbox I'm going to buy next week for them. So now we have two Xboxes. Wait a minute, how many people I can have, how many is it, 4 people on Game Pass, friends and family?
I think it's you and then 4 other people, so 5 total.
People.
Yeah.
Well, I need 4 other Xboxes then because I got all those people in my house. They're not going to use my Xbox. And it kind of builds in that sense of kind of like how Nintendo said we want to have multiple Switches per household. It's sort of like that for Microsoft with Game Pass. We want to have multiple Game Pass accounts per household.
And that Series S is priced at that right range where $300, it's okay. It's a choice, but it's not outlandish. It is something where you can really talk yourself into it if you are someone who is like building a room for your kids to play games. So, well, if I got the Xbox, they could use that to watch Netflix and I already have
Minecraft machine.
Yeah, and Minecraft and Fortnite's free on there no matter what. And Roblox, oh, it has Roblox. They never shut up about Roblox. And it's very easy to talk yourself into there. And then all of us on top of that, it's like, well, if I'm doing all that, let's get the family pass so then they can play all these real games on top of that they're always asking me about. And maybe sometimes I could play with them and I could be on the one upstairs or whatever. It's just putting the pieces in place on the board so that you can be as easy to convince people or put as much pressure on them as possible to make them think this is a good deal for them, which is, how this stuff works. And then finally, for the catch-up, Sonic Frontiers gameplay overview. John, I think I've succumbed to the Sonic cycle. I think I have fully begun to believe that this Sonic Frontiers game might be
You're
okay.
right in there.
I'm here. It looks fun now. I don't know what happened.
Show.
Yeah, what happened? This gameplay overview, it really just basically lays out what the loop of the game is going to be. You're going to be going to places. You're going to be unlocking shortcuts. You're going to be unlocking new parts of the world. Sonic's just going to be running around doing attacks. I think the running circles around enemies is such a good idea for Sonic because what do I want to be doing when I'm Sonic? Going fast. And so how can we make that into a combat system? Well, just have them run circles around the enemies, and that creates this little ring of light that destroys them or whatever. Perfect. Great. Wonderful. I think I'm all in on this now.
So here's the good thing. I think the Sonic cycle will be broken this time because I think it's impossible for it not to be, because the idea of the Sonic cycle is everyone gets built up with excitement for Sonic. There's all this marketing, anticipation, and then it's worse than the last one. This cannot be worse than Sonic Forces. Sonic Forces is like a 57 or something on Metacritic. This just on the idea alone and concept.
The ambition is like, it's going to get points for that. I think you're right.
Yeah. So in that case, I do believe it'll be broken. And in fact, as they've shown it more and more, I am getting more and more optimistic for it. With this last one, I am now on board. I'm in Sonic Frontiers. Looking forward to it in November. It's tough though because it's coming out the same day as Skull and Bones, so it could still get delayed to get out of the way of that.
Right? Yeah, of course.
But I'm excited for it. And you know what? I don't know why they decided to show it the way they did the first time. Like that, it wasn't a great showing for it. But as they've gone along, it's gotten better and better.
I laughed so hard because, of course, it's also like the same day or the day before of like God of War, right?
War, yeah.
That's so perfect. I am, there's a lot of 8-year-olds. Okay, here's what happened. I was doing a podcast last night, and my kid stayed up in bed and found her tablet and was staying up, and she should have been sleeping. So I go up there to put her back to bed, and she is playing on her tablet, and she is watching a Sonic cartoon, and she is telling me all about how now. This is how she said it. Sonic is now my favorite. I'm like, oh no, what happened? I went away for like an hour and a half and I come upstairs and this has happened. I'm like, first of all, the Child Protective Services are going to come for me.
Yeah.
But it's a second, like this is how it works. The kids just find Sonic and he's got this like just the animalistic appeal that people just can't help but like. And Sega has played on that for years and years, and it's worked out fine for them. If they could make a game that is, fine for young kids that are getting into Sonic for the first time ever and actually still have some appeal and some quality for the audience has been with them for forever, it could be a really massive success. It doesn't have to be Super Mario Odyssey. It doesn't have to be a 95 or whatever on Metacritic. If it's like in the high 70s, low 80s, I think it's going to be a real.
That's kind of where I'm placing it. Yes. High 70s, low. The only thing that could really hurt this game is if it comes out and it's just stupidly buggy and like it's broken, it won't work, it deletes your saves for some reason, something crazy happening that would get it to, like it had that Cyberpunk moment, right? Let's talk about Cyberpunk, and it damages its first impression to where Sega can't recover from it and they have to move on to the next one. So that's I'm hopeful. I'm hoping this is the big moment for Sonic. Hey, the movie has the intellectual property, it's riding high right now.
Yep. We'll see. It's I'm gonna play it is where I'm at, and I'm gonna give it a real chance, and we'll see. All right, let's go to the poll. Do you have a game that you're looking forward to for the rest of the year? And I kind of did this a little bit as a troll for everyone who's like, I got there's nothing coming out this year. I'm like, let's just look and see. I think this is low. 80% of people say yes, they have a game they're looking forward to for the rest of the year. 20% said no. And I'm like, there's God of War is not for me, but like most people seem to be into that. So, you're going to have a new one of those. But then there's all kinds of like smaller stuff between now and the rest of the year. So that I'm looking forward to. John, do you have something that you really can't wait to play beyond Skull and Bones?
Yeah, but beyond Skull and Bones, that definitely, I mean, God of War Ragnarok's the big one for a lot of people, myself included. But even something like Bayonetta 3, I think looks great. Bayonetta has consistently delivered every time it's released.
Yep.
2 was very, very good. Massive strides from the first one.
I'm
expecting
Bayonetta
a lot.
Yes.
I'm expecting a lot from 3. But even like Mario Rabbids, I really like Kingdom Battle. That was a very good XCOM-like Mario game. So this one looks even better. So I'm absolutely looking forward to that as well. We have Splatoon 3 next week. So there's actually quite a bit to get excited for right now. And then we have Callisto Protocol wrapping everything up in the first week of December. So that's just what we know of now. I could be playing Metroid a couple months from now. Who knows?
Yeah, it definitely feels like we're going to know a little bit more about what's coming for the rest of this year and, early next year. But for the rest of this year in a couple of weeks. So, that Nintendo Direct, there's one happening for sure. Will they announce Metroid Prime for the holidays? Yes, they will. Yes, they will. So,
see, I'll be playing that.
Yeah,
I'll be playing Metroid Prime.
I cannot wait. I did the Prime Hacks emulator to try to see what that was like with the a controller, and that was cool. But then I played with mouse and keyboard, and it just feels like a boomer shooter. It feels like Quake. It's like so weird. Like I'm like, oh my god, you probably beat this game in like 45 minutes, like without trying with this stuff. So it's cool.
Good game.
Yeah, it's one of the best. Absolutely. All right, let's ask a poll for not Monday because we're off. Tuesday we have the Bombcast. So for next Wednesday, it's going to be a while before we get back here. I was going to ask, are you feeling more or less optimistic about Sonic Frontiers since Sega first announced it? But let's cut to the chase. Will Sonic Frontiers break the Sonic cycle? There we go.
One.
Yes.
That's a good one.
Yes or no. That's it.
I think to break the Sonic cycle, we're looking at an 80 plus on Metacritic. So above 80. I think everyone will be like, oh, wow. Sonic actually has a green icon next to it on a 3D Sonic game has a green icon next to it on Metacritic.
Let's just suggest that plus 80 plus on Metacritic. There we go. There we go. Thank you, John. That helps very much. All right. So we will answer that on Wednesday. I kind of can't wait to see what people are going to say about that. For now, though, we'll be back with more Giant Bomb next week. John, where can people find you? You got anything going on? You got a podcast this weekend or anything like that?
Yeah, we got a podcast this weekend. Jeff might stop by. We'll see how that works out. But we got a podcast Saturday night. Should be a lot of fun. Otherwise, though, I'm there weekday mornings, just giving opinions and talking about random news stuff. So I'm around.
My YouTube has totally learned that when I wake up around 7:50, that when I open up YouTube, it's like, oh nope, there John's right first thing. They don't want to watch that, so I watch it every morning. It's great. It's a great way to like gather up some news to get ready for this show every day. So I appreciate it. Yeah, exactly. Yes, doing my job for me. I appreciate it. Guys, we're gonna have some stuff happening on Giant Bomb today. Let's actually take a look over here at the thing while this reloads. Sekiro Choa. Jan is gonna be playing some more Sekiro, so look forward to that. And then ranking of Tekken Endings Part 4. We're not gonna be doing UPF on Professional Friday. It's gonna take the week off so that we can instead do what should be the last part of ranking of Tekken endings. John, you have a favorite Tekken ending? You remember any of these FMV sequence or CGI sequences from the end of Tekken games?
Not really off the top. I've never got that into Tekken.
The best ones are where a son or a grandfather throws either the son or the grandfather into a volcano. That's always the best one.
I know those. Yeah,
yes, exactly. Those. So they're getting through to the last couple of games now, and then we'll be back with another UPF next week, and then a whole bunch of other Giant Bomb stuff next week as well, after we take Monday off. So everyone, thanks for sticking with us all this week. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.